What is up, MTG Portal? And today we are talking about Jin-Gitaxias Core Augur in the E.D.H Deck Tech format. So sit back, grab a soda pop, a popcorn, whatever you need, and let's dive right into this deck tech. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, we're going to dive right in, starting out with our instance. Let's go and see what we got in store. Starting with our counterspell block, we do have the usual counterspell, 2 blue, counter target spell. Great way to stall your opponents. We're also running Forbid, which comes in a 1 colorless 2 blue with a buyback of discarding 2 cards, countering target spell. Keeps it in your hand, enables that push. We've also got Rewind. It is a free counter spell. Comes into play for 2 colorless 2 blue. You immediately can tap up to 4 lands, counter target spell. Dissolve at 1 colorless and 2 blue. You can counter spell plus scry 1. So it's a great way to counter it and then know what's coming next on your deck so you can anticipate your opponent. Pact of Negation, coming in at a 0 casting cost, does counter a target spell. However, you have to pay 3 colorless and 2 blue at your next upkeep, or you lose the game. Great in a bind. Cryptic Command at 1 colorless and 3 blue. My all-time favorite counter spell. You choose 2. Counter target spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control, or you draw a card. We've also got Dissipate. At 1 colorless and 2 blue, it counters the target spell and then exiles it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Great way to prevent them from recasting it, especially with all the recursion. Stoic Rebuttal at 1 colorless and 2 blue. I love this for the Metalcraft. If you have 3 artifacts on the board, it only costs you 2 blue to counter target spell. So eventually, it's basically a counter spell. And then we have Time Stop. If your opponent starts playing something we don't want to see happen, we can completely end that entire turn. It removes all spells, all stacks, all abilities, just ceases their turn. We've also got Dig Through Time for 6 colorless and 2 blue with Delve, so you can delve it by removing cards from your graveyard to limit the colorless cost. And you can look at the top 7 cards, choose 2, put them in your hand, the rest at the bottom of your library. We also have Commander. If your opponent starts to play a non-creature spell we don't want to see happen, we can actually gain control of that by removing 2 blue cards in your hand from the game and not paying its mana cost. Great way to prevent a blatant thievery. Aether Spouts at 3 colorless 2 blue. Bouncing back any attacking creature your opponent may be coming at you with, stalling that board and giving you a chance to get the upper hand. If that doesn't work, we do have Cyclonic Rift at 1 colorless of blue with an overload of 6 colorless and 1 blue, returning all non-land permanents you don't control to its owner's hand. So leaving your stuff on the board, wiping your opponent. We also have Trick Bind at 1 colorless and a blue. It is a split-second spell that enables you to stop an activated or triggered ability. Great way to prevent a Planeswalker activation or something you don't want to see. We also have Brainstorm for card advantage and card draw. Next up, we do have Anticipate, and we do end this cycle with Fact or Fiction. All great ways to get those cards you need in your hand. Alright, next up, we're going to dive into the sorceries. We've got some really fun ones here, and they have great synergy in the deck. Starting out with Agavarian Restoration at 2 colorless, 2 blue. You can put target artifact card from your graveyard into play. Great way to prevent them from stealing or destroying your artifacts. Fabricate, 2 colorless and a blue. Great way to get your Soul Ring out early or any other artifact you require. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. We've also got Time Warp, enabling us to take extra turns for 3 colorless, 2 blue. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. And then we follow that up with Time Stretch. Coming in at 8 colorless and 2 blue, target player takes 2 extra turns after this one. Basically enabling us to take 3 extra turns during this game to crush and annihilate our opponent. We do have Preordained for 1 blue, scry 2 and draw a card. Great way to know what's on your stack. We've also got Rite of Replication, 2 colorless and 2 blue with a kicker of 5 colorless. Put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target creature. If Rite of Replication was kicked, put 5 of those tokens on the battlefield instead. We also have Bribery for 3 colorless and 2 blue. Search target opponent's library for a creature card, put that card into play under your control, then that player shuffles his or her library. And we end this cycle with Blatant Thievery. 4 colorless and 3 blue, for each opponent, gain control of target permanent that player controls. Great way to prevent them from playing and keeping something you don't want to see on the board and utilizing it on your end instead. And last up for sorceries, we have Exhaustion. At 2 colorless and a blue, creatures and lands target opponent controls don't untap during his or her next untap step. Great way to go in for the kill. Alright, next up we're going to dive into the artifacts. We've got some great synergy and some awesome artifacts for this deck. We're starting out with our Mana Ramp, Mana Vault, being very universal. We're also running Gilded Lotus, again very universal, tapping it for 3 blue. We are also coming that with Run Dynamo for 4 colorless. You can tap it to add 3 colorless to your mana pool. And last but not least, we have Soul Ring when it comes to our mana ramp. Moving right along, we're going to switch into Sapphire Medallion, which prevents our blue spells from costing a lot of colorless mana. We've also got Veldican Shackles. For 3 colorless, you may choose not to untap it. Pay 2 colorless and tap it and gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of islands you control. Library of Ling for 1 colorless, you have no maximum hand size. If an effect causes you to discard a card, discard it, but you may put it on top of your library instead of into your graveyard. We've also got Spellbook, enabling us to have no maximum hand size at 0 casting cost. We have Darksteel Plate, making target creature indestructible for 3 colorless and 2 equip cost. Great way to prevent your commander from dying. Lightning Greaves for 2 colorless, gives target creature Shroud and Haste, 0 equip cost. Visitor's Journal for 5 colorless, you have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain low on life for each card in your hand, great synergy with your commander. And ending with Veldican Orrery at 4 colorless, you may cast non-land cards as though they had flash, enabling you to cast sorceries, creatures, enchantments, everything at the end of your opponent's turn and benefiting on your turn. Alright, next up are the creatures. We've got some really fun creatures, some great synergy, and overall nastiness in this deck. Let's start it out, of course, with Clever Impersonator. Coming in at 2 colorless, 2 blue. You may copy any permanent on the battlefield. Mana ramp, artifacts, creatures, whatever's going to help you defeat your opponent. We've also got Thing in the Ice, a 1 colorless and a blue for a 0/4 defender. It comes in with 4 ice counters on him. Every time you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you remove an ice counter. When all ice counters are removed, he does transform into Awoken Horror. Awoken Horror is a 7/8 Kraken, and when he does come into the play after transforming, he returns all non-Kraken creatures to their owner's hand. Difficult for your opponent to deal with. We have Solemn Simulacrum for additional mana plus card draw, and is a 2/2 creature. When he dies, you do draw that extra card. Works out well for the deck and synergy. Laboratory Maniac. Since our commander is all about drawing infinite cards, this guy ensures we don't lose the game when we have no more cards to draw in our library. We've also got Trinket Mage. 2 colorless and a blue enables us to fish out artifacts of 1 or less. So Spellbook, Soul Ring, any artifact that's going to give us an infinite hand. Library of Ling, really going to help us out in that respect in the deck. Arcanus Omnipotent for additional card draw. He's a 3/4 wizard for 3 colorless and 3 blue. Plus you can bounce it back to his hand for 2 colorless, 2 blue. We've also got Teferi, Mage of Zalafir for 2 colorless, 3 blue. He's a 3/4 with flash. Creatures you control can now be cast as though they had flash, and your opponent can only cast a spell anytime he can play a sorcery, which really limits their ability. Cryptoplasm, 1 colorless, 2 blue. He's a 2/2 at the beginning of your upkeep. You may have Cryptoplasm become a copy of another target creature. If you do, Cryptoplasm gains this ability, so he changes. Tidespout Tyrant, 5 colorless, 3 blue for a 5/5 flyer. Whenever you play a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Great synergy. Consecrated Sphinx at 4 colorless, 2 blue for a 4/6 flyer. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you draw 2 cards, so helping that card advantage. Falls in line with Psychosis Crawler at 5 colorless. He's a star. His power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. Great synergy when he's on the board with your commander. Frost Titan, 4 colorless, 2 blue for a 6/6. Whenever Frost Titan becomes a target of a spell or ability your opponent controls, they have to pay 2 colorless or it cancels it. Whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you tap target permanent. Phyrexian Metamorph, again enabling us to copy what our opponents have on the board and dealing with them at our leisure. It's a wonderful addition to the deck. Memnarch, it's 7 colorless, allowing us to turn target permanents they control into artifacts and then gaining control of them. Again, excuse me, gridlocking our opponents. Aeromancer, 2 colorless, 2 blue, allowing us to bounce back instants or sorcery cards from our graveyard to recast them, so counter spells, time warp, things like that. Gilded Drake at 1 colorless and a blue. He comes on the board, you immediately exchange him for control of a target creature your opponent controls, thus giving him a weak creature, taking control of his powerful creature. And then we end it with Sphinx of Athun. 5 colorless, 2 blue for a 5/6 flyer, which basically is another Fact or Fiction, giving us additional card draw in the deck. Alright, next up we're going to go over the lands. You will see a lot of basic lands and very few utility lands in this deck. Starting out with Command Beacon, to be able to bounce your commander back to your hand and recast him. We also have Command Tower, enabling you to help cast your commander quickly. Following that with Rogue's Passage for colorless mana and making your creatures unblockable. We've also got Cephalid Coliseum, adding blue, and at Threshold you can sack it to draw 3 cards. Lonely Sandbar for land cycling. If you don't need the land, chance a better card. Manamu, Skull at Water's Edge to untap your legendary, so i.e. your commander. Strip Mine, sacking it just to screw your opponent and get rid of a land you don't want them to have. And then we run basic lands. We have 29 basic islands in the deck. Alright, next up we're going to go over enchantments in the deck. We have 4 basic enchantments and they all have great synergy. The first one is Back to Basics. And 2 colorless in the blue, it simply states non-basic lands do not untap during their controller's untap phase. Hence why we run 29 islands. We are also running Rhystic Study, a 2 colorless and a blue. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. So it's forcing your opponents to pay extra for their spells and abilities, and you're getting card draw, which is benefiting your commander. We also run Omniscience, 7 colorless and 3 blue. It's a mythic that you may cast non-land cards from your hand without paying their mana cost. Eventually, mana for us no longer matters. And then finally, we are playing Treachery, 3 colorless and 2 blue. For an enchant creature, when Treachery comes into play, untap up to 5 lands. It is free, and you control enchanted creature. All in all, this is enabling us to gridlock our opponents and ensure that we have the utmost ability to strike back and end them quickly. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the Planeswalkers in this E.D.H Deck Tech. We are going to be starting out with Jace the Mind Sculptor, coming at 2 colorless, 2 blue with 3 loyalty. Everybody knows what Jace does. We're also running Teferi, Temple Archmage, at 4 colorless, 2 blue at 5 loyalty. We're comboing that with Jace, Vibrance Prodigy, 0-2 for 1 colorless and a blue, that flips into Jace, Telepath Unbound at 5 loyalty. And last but not least, we are running Karn Liberated at 7 colorless with 6 loyalty. All in all, this is designed to quickly gridlock your opponent's board and to beat them in the face without much hesitation. Hope you guys enjoy the deck tech. It is quite ruthless. Thank you guys for watching the E.D.H Deck Tech for Jin-Gitaxias Core Augur. If you have questions, comments, leave them down below. If you see something you do differently in the deck, also leave that down below. For those of you watching for the first time, if you have not joined MTG-Portal, I have no clue what you're waiting for. There's a link for you. That's right, called the subscribe button. Smash it down below and give this video a like. It helps out more than you guys know. If you haven't already gotten involved in our Facebook blogs page, make sure you smash that link down below. Come join us on Facebook. Also, feel free to follow us on Twitter when we update it. There's a link for that down below as well. And if you feel excited and you want to get involved in our Patron Rewards program for your chance to win some booster packs, there's a link for you down below to help support MTG-Portal and the content we produce. As always, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Look for more content, more spoilers, and more E.D.H Deck Techs coming on this channel in the near future. Peace out. Thanks for watching.